Who's going to impose their will in the Stanley Cup final? Will it be the physicality of the Florida Panthers? Will it be their experience from being here 2 years in a row? Or will it be the immense skill of the Edmonton Oilers? It's quite a contrast as we get set to battle for hockey's ultimate prize. I'm Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News with a few thoughts on the Cup final. First thing that jumps out at me, 6 years in a row, an Atlantic Division team in the Cup final. Boston, Tampa 3 times, now Florida twice. That's a pretty sobering thought for Sabres fans, isn't it? They're just trying to make the playoffs here. The Panthers really are built for this point. They got their confidence last year when they came back from that 3-1 deficit against Boston, and they drive teams crazy with their physical play. And they've become much more disciplined in the last couple series. We really saw they did not get into a lot of after the whistle stuff against the New York Rangers, and you just felt like they were in complete control of that series. Alexander Barkov is the best defensive forward in hockey. He's dominated Nikita Kucherov of Tampa and David Pastrnak of Boston. And where were Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin in the last series? But here's the ultimate test now for the Panthers. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers. Two of probably the best 4 or 5 players in the game. Certainly McDavid is the best player in the game. It's kind of funny to think McDavid was drafted at the end of the tank year in 2015 in the Panthers arena when the Sabres took Jack Eichel number 2 that night. It's taken McDavid a long time. This is 9 years. He's the first player in history to get to the Stanley Cup final after having 7 100-point regular seasons first. 9 years into his career, the Oilers have finally made it, and they really looked like a different club here at the end of the series against Vancouver and against the Dallas Stars in the West Final. Much more disciplined, not looking to outscore people, much better defensively. McDavid and Draisaitl are excellent 200-foot players. McDavid has really evolved in his career. The Panthers, of course, were dealing with the tremendous ex-Sabres factor. It starts with Sam Reinhart, obviously, 65 goals combined in the regular season and playoffs, but everyone here is certainly feeling thought one way or the other on Kyle Okposo, who engineered his trade to Florida at the end of the season, asked Kevin Adams to get into a contender. I would assume he's going to retire at the end of this season. And the Sabres have a vested interest in it. They would like the Panthers to win. They got a 7th-round pick for Okposo. If the Panthers win the Cup, that becomes a 5th-round pick. So the Sabres certainly are watching this one closely. Evan Rodriguez, Brandon Montour, Dmitry Kulikov. Hey, even Rasmus Asplund is on the Panthers' Black Aces, so there are a lot of Buffalo connections to Florida. The coaching matchup, something really interesting to watch. A veteran coach in Paul Maurice with some tremendous press conference quips. And a young coach, not young in terms of experience, but just in the NHL. Chris Knobloch took over the Oilers when they were 2-9-1 in November. Connor McDavid's old junior coach, and McDavid made clear at the All-Star game he was not involved. I think they asked his opinion on the coaching change. What did they think of Knobloch? He didn't suggest go hire my junior coach. Knobloch came from the AHL. The Oilers are a much different team under him. They are much more responsible. They play all over the ice. They got to get goaltending, and we don't know which Stuart Skinner is going to show up in this series compared to Sergei Bobrovsky, but overall, the Oilers are really ready for this moment. It feels like the first time Mario Lemieux went to the Stanley Cup final in 1991, or the first time Steve Yzerman went to the Stanley Cup final in 1997 with Detroit. It's Connor McDavid's first time. It's Leon Draisaitl's first time. Who do I like? Well, most people like the Florida Panthers, and with good reason. They've been very impressive in these playoffs. The physicality, I think, will bother Edmonton at times. And look, that last game against Dallas, they got outshot 35-10. Somehow they won it. I just feel like this is McDavid's time. This is the moment. Every top number 1 pick really gets that chance. Every marquee name finally looks at that cup and has their opportunity. It feels like this is McDavid's time. So I'm going to go against the grain here. I think Edmonton can win this thing in 6 games. I think the Panthers will struggle at times with McDavid and Draisaitl's speed, and the Panthers have to stay out of the box. Don't take penalties. This Edmonton power play is almost automatic. The first 2 games are in Florida, then it goes to Edmonton, and all that travel, 1-1-1 for potential games 5, 6, and 7. This thing could go to June 24th. Good job, NHL, on a bad schedule for the series. Be sure to check out my Inside the NHL column at buffalonews.com for all the information looking at the Stanley Cup final.